My name's Anita and I live in South Wales in the UK, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Anita Bulb, and show notes for this episode can be found in the description box below. Happy New Year! Welcome to 2019. We're halfway through January already, I can't believe it. I decided this year not to do any New Year's resolutions, but instead to have a word. And my word for the year is organisation. I want to be more organised. I am pretty organised in other areas of my life, but my crafting is a bit all over the place. I tend to see patterns I like and buy the yarn for it and don't make it because I don't have time, and I flip from one thing to another, and I just want to be more organised and more structured. So I was really happy when in the new year several other podcasters have decided to do make-alongs, knit-alongs and yarn-alongs, and I'm joining in with a few of those. Last episode I mentioned that I was joining in with Zoe from Pins and Needles in the newfangled make-along, but I'll get to that later. I'll start in the order. So this episode is all going to be about my alongs, the alongs I am joining in with this year, and you may well be joining in as well. And I'd love to have, if you are, I'd love for you to leave a comment below, and I would love to hear what you're making and which alongs you're joining in with. I am going to start with the one that finishes first. So Caroline from Love to Sew and Emma from Eldenwood Craft are doing a knit along just for January, so if you want to join in with this you better be quick. And it's called New Year Warm Head Cal, and the rules are to knit or crochet a hat during January with no works in progress. It's got to be a new pattern, and you must use at least 50 grams of yarn or enough to make an adult hat or 2 children's hats. So I made a hat using the yarn that my cousin Nikki sent me, the Zealana Air, and it's a blend of cashmere and brushtail possum down, and it's really lovely and soft. It's a single space or lace weight, and it was 25 grams, but it made this hat and it's so lovely and soft, and I really like the way the decreases spiral. It's very pretty, and it's so easy it was so easy to make. I used my Knit Pro Zing DPNs, which I absolutely love, and I just knitted round and round while watching the telly, and it was very nice, easy knitting and very soft on the hands. When I made the smaller size because on the pattern you got a free pattern with the yarn. She says in the pattern, the lady, so it's the Warm Cap by Elizabeth Schatz, and she says that there are 2 sizes, and she would suggest knitting the small size if you prefer a tighter fit hat, as the Zealana Air has a tendency to loosen up a bit with wear. Well, I did block it and it has made it a bit bigger, but if you follow me on Instagram you would have seen a couple of photos of me wearing the hat and it was more like a skull cap, but now it's blocked. It is a little bit bigger, which is nice. I'm not going to put it on that because I don't want hat hair. So I've entered that into the knit along by Caroline and Emma, and I've already put my hat in the finished object thread. So that's one knit along I finished already. And the next one that I'm joining in with, I've got some notes here just to keep me on track, is with Nicola from Bumble Stitches, and it's called Crackthewipkal. This runs from the 1st of January to the 28th of February, and it's just encouraging us to finish up those whips that have been languishing and not having much love spent on them. So I decided to enter Josh's socks in this cal because I have put them to one side And I did again when I wanted to do that hat, but I have been working on these socks, and it's a mashup of patterns where I am using the Nurturing Fibres Toe Up vanilla sock pattern, and then the actual pattern of the socks is the Spanglish Socks from Owl About Yarn. Here they are. And this pattern is nice because it gives a nice snug fit, and that's what Josh wanted. And for the heels, I used Ellie's tutorial from Crafthouse Magic on how to do a toe up sock heel. And that was really simple to follow, and I like that a lot because you don't get any holes and you don't have to pick up any stitches. And now I'm just working up the leg. I went a little bit wrong because after I finished the heel, I carried on patterning on the front and just knitting plain on the back. So the heel is a little bit higher than it should be, but I don't think Josh will notice, and I didn't think it was worth undoing it for that. So I'm well on my way to finishing that, and then I can enter that into Nicola's Crack the Whip Cowl. I will finish that plenty before February. And then on to Zoe from Pins and Needles, the newfangled Mal 19. And this runs from the 1st of January to the 28th of February as well. And the idea is to make something new, so to try a new technique, material, or a new pattern. Pretty much anything goes as long as it's new to you and it's challenging. And mine is challenging. I am making, as I told you last time, the Vintage Flower Bag by Button Angel. And there's the picture. I had assumed, because it was a kit, that everything would come in the kit, but it doesn't. And I'd also assumed that all the pieces would be cut out for you, which they would. So I had to do a lot of measuring and cutting. And on the back of the pattern, so it was all sealed in a bag. Don't know if you can see the whole list. I also assumed that all those things would be in the kit, but they're not. And even to the point that on the side pockets here you have to have buttons, and the buttons aren't even in it. And I found it very difficult to make because the only picture is this one. There are no pictures or diagrams or anything with the instructions to help you. And some of the instructions, I wasn't sure which piece of fabric I was supposed to be using. It was a little bit vague. Then to begin with, I went completely wrong. I'll show you what I've done so far. It is starting to look a little bit like a bag. This is the front and the sides, and then the back. So it's kind of coming together, but I went wrong at the beginning because I sewed the top piece to this bit with the flap and then realized there was actually a bottom piece that was just, you were meant to make a bottom piece just out of the lining fabric and put it underneath, but it wasn't very clear and I went wrong. And then I decided, well, I'm just going to leave it as a dummy flap, because you have to spray based lining onto the back after you've sewn it together, and I didn't want to pull it all apart. And that spray basting spray gets everywhere. Everything was stuck. My fingers were all ugh. Anyway, so I am persevering with the bag. I think another 2 sessions maybe of an hour or 2 and I should get it finished. I try to do a little bit of sewing on a Sunday morning or a Monday morning because that's my day off, because I like to sew in natural light and that's the best way for me. So I shall be getting on with that and hopefully finish it by the end of February so I can enter it into Zoe's make along. Last week I was watching Leslie from Not Quite Enough Yarns podcast. She updated a small video just to let us know about a make along she was planning, and it's a year-long make-along to only use your stash fibre. So it's not sewing or anything, it's only knitting, crochet, spinning, felting, anything with yarn. And you have to use the yarn out of your stash and not buy any, and for a whole year. And you can enter as many projects all the way through the year. So she's hosting this with Barbara from Flame and Fibre podcast, and I thought, what a brilliant idea, because like I said at the beginning of the episode, I want to start using the yarn that I've bought for projects and it has just been left in the cupboard or on the shelf, making me feel guilty. So I thought this is a perfect opportunity. I can join in with Leslie and Barbara and make some of my projects up. So what I decided to do was lay out all my yarn on my bed and take a look and see what exactly I've got, and then try and match it up with patterns that preferably I already have, and go from there. I do seem to have quite a lot of yarn, but I didn't buy it all. I bought a lot of it, but some was gifted to me and some has been given to me by people who know that I craft and give me wool that they don't want anymore. For example, next week I know I'm going to be getting some more double knitting yarn because a lady who works with me, very sadly, her mum passed away before Christmas and she was a knitter, and my friend has asked me would I like her mum's needles and yarn stash, and I thought that was very kind of her, and I said I would love to, and it's very nice. So it's a bit sad, obviously it's coming to me through that route, but very nice all the same. And I said that anything I make from her mother's stash I will bring into work to show her if she found that a comfort, and she said she thought she would, so that would be nice. So anyway, I lay it all out on the bed and I was thinking of projects when Ellie from Crafthouse Magic also put a podcast up, and she was saying that she's going to be doing a few craft alongs through the year. And her list is she's doing an Edinburgh Yarn Festival knit along in from January through to March. She's doing a shawl along from March to May, a summer sock along from June to August, and a Christmas craft along like she did this year from September to December, so you can get your knitting plans and knitting gifts out of the way before December starts. So I thought I'd incorporate the two knit-alongs. I would use the yarn from Stash so I can enter into Leslie's, and I'm going to make some of the things that Ellie suggests to go enter into her knit-alongs, because you can double dip, so that's fine. I'm not going to Edinburgh Yarn Festival, unfortunately, so I won't be doing that one, but I will be entering the shawl along, and I'm just having a look because I have organised all my projects and they're in a heap over here. I've put them in these bags that I had from Wool Warehouse to start off with, but I will be transferring them into project bags as I go along, and I might have to make a few new project bags out of my fabric stash to house these new projects. So I have settled on the Close to You shawl, and this is by Justyna Lorkowska, and I thought that was really pretty. And when we were away in the caravan in West Wales, we went into Narberth, and there's a shop there that sells all sorts of different vintagey things, and her friend was the lady who owned it. Her friend was a yarn dyer and she had some yarn in her shop, and I bought this. I have showed it before and I think that's just beautiful, and it's from Fire and Ice Yarn, and it's sock yarn, 80% superwash BFL and 20% nylon high twist, and it's a one-off hank. so I will have a unique shawl. So that's my shawl project that I planned. And for the summer sock along, I am going to use this yarn, which is Wendy Rome 4-ply, and the colour is Windermere. And it's, if you can see, I don't know if you can see, it's not just a lilac, there's a little bit of colour, I don't know how to explain that, pigmentation, I don't know, but it's not a solid colour, slightly not marbled, I don't know what the professional word is. But I thought I'd make a pair of socks for Jodie, as she likes the socks that I've made her before, but she also wears trainer liners, so I thought I would make her a pair of trainer liners, which would be better for the summer anyway. And so I thought I had the Bay City roller sock pattern in somewhere, but I couldn't find it. So on Ravelry I found a pattern for some, these are called neon footies, but they are essentially trainer liners, and it's a free pattern, so I'm not purchasing anything, so I'm keeping within my own rules, because Leslie doesn't say that you can't buy patterns, just the yarn, but I thought I've got enough patterns, I don't need to buy any more. So here they are. I hope you can see that. That's on Ravelry. I haven't had a chance to print it off yet, but I will be getting that sorted. I shall be printing that pattern off and putting them with this yarn in a project bag, ready for June, when I can join along with Ellie's knit along, the summer sock along. And for Christmas crafts, I have a crocheted project I'd like to do. I have 2 balls of this King Cowl yarn, Glitz double knitting. I know it's not to everybody's taste, but I thought it was fun, and I think I bought it when I was ordering other things, and you had to add something else to make the amount up to, I think it was £25, so you got free postage. So I got these, and it was a couple of years ago, and I thought I'd make something for the children, but I never have. So I'm going to make a tree skirt for the Christmas tree. And again, I thought I had the pattern printed, but I can't find it. This is why I need to be more organised. But I do have it in my library on Ravelry. So this is the one I want to do, or similar. And the trouble with this one is, so it's the Happy Holidays Tree Skirt by Tamara Kelly, but you are supposed to use Aran weight yarn, and this is double knitting. So I'm just going to follow her pattern, but use this and see how big a skirt I get. So we shall see. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It doesn't matter, does it? So that's my Christmas craft along pattern. And I'm not just doing things to go along with Ellie's craft along, I'm also thinking of other projects. And just before Christmas, I bought 2 balls of this Alpine Luxe Fur Effect yarn from Sirdar, and it's lovely and soft, and I wanted to make a little cowl that I've seen Tina from Simply in Stitches made one, and Ange from Yarn and Yarns has made a few for customers, because she has a shop in Penarth, a yarn shop, and I'm very jealous. And she also has a podcast, and if you haven't watched her before, please go and find her. Oh, my voice went funny then. Please go and find her. And so I want to make a cowl out of that, and hopefully it won't take long, because I think we are due to have some bad weather soon, and I really want to get that done. And also I thought some of these projects you will have seen before, because I've shown you and said this is what I'm going to make, and I never got round to it. And one of those varied projects is the flax sweater. I made the flax light for Jack when he was born. This one uses Aran weight yarn, or worsted, and I am using the Cascade Yarns Cascade 220 in this nice navy blue, and the colour is just 2404. So I have enough skeins. How many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And one's already caked up. It's been caked up forever. So I know I've got enough because I bought that yarn with this in mind. I did buy another ball of yarn that I wanted to do some contrast stripes. Then I changed my mind. Then I wanted to do a colour work cardigan and have a go at steeking. But when I looked into it, you couldn't, or it was recommended that you didn't use superwash yarn, and this is superwash. And as I'm just using what I've got in stash, I decided against that, and I thought I will knit the flax out of that because I can do that just through the year, and well, hopefully at the beginning of the year for the cold weather. And what else have I got? There's quite a few. I hope this isn't boring you too much. I made Harry some fingerless gloves with this pattern a little while ago. I think it was last year. So when he was on his scooter and his bike, he had his hands were warm, but he had his fingers free to use the brakes and things. So he quite liked those, but he's grown a little bit now. So I thought I might like to make him a new pair of these. The pattern is from, just says Kiwi Yarns Knits, but it was on Ravelry, and if you look on my Ravelry page, Anita Bulb, it's in my projects because, like I say, I've made it before. And I thought I'd use this Sirdar, I don't know how to say it, Heart and Soul yarn, and the colourway shade 0054. They're quite boring, aren't they, the colourways? And I thought it'd be nice because it'd be stripy and quite dark, so it would go with his winter coat and also won't show up the dirt. He's 5, so that's a good plan, not to show up the dirt. So that's another project. I've got 2 left, so we're nearly there. And 2 years ago, I bought the West Yorkshire Spinners signature Christmas yarn. So when I get to knit these towards the end of the year or in the summer for the summer sock along, even though they're Christmas socks, that'll be nearly 3 years I've had this yarn. So I know people have stashed for longer than that, but I think I need to use it. So I'm just going to use the pattern that came with the yarn, but I quite like the idea. I've seen some people, they slip a stitch and then you get a little sort of patterning on the stripe, so I might try and do that. And I've got this yarn, Truly Woolrich 4-ply Signet, to go as the contrast. I would have liked red or green, but the green I had didn't match, and I didn't have any red 4-ply, and I'm not allowed to buy any, so that will be fine, I think. And for the very last thing that I've got planned is quite a lot of yarn. I bought it for another project and didn't do it, but all the colours are the same as for this project. So I'm going to make the Vintage Look Beret, this one here, which is in the Granny Squares and Shapes book by Susan Pinner. And there was a sort of scarf or a collar that you could make with all these colours, and I was going to make that for my friend, but I didn't in the end, although I did buy all the yarns to make that. And oh, let me just put that in there so I don't lose the page. So here are all the yarns. It's Stylecraft Alpaca DK. It's nice and soft, and you had to have all these different colours and they came in these big balls. So just to make a collar, I bought all the colours, and I haven't even got enough hands, all these colours to make it, and all these colours to make it. Oh, let me see if I can hold them up like that. So I thought I would do the beret, and it won't use, I wouldn't have thought to even use half of this, and then maybe I'll do the collar afterwards as well. But it's lovely and soft, so I'm looking forward to that. And that's my only crochet project so far, but I can add to them through the year because I'm using, as long as I use stash, it's fine. So what are your knitting plans for 2019, or crochet, or dressmaking, anything? Please let me know. I'd like to hear. And if you have any ideas for free patterns or things that I could possibly make with my stash, please let me know, and I shall let you know how I'm getting on. See you soon. Bye.